This repair I'm going to demonstrate now is to repair a delamination or a chip out of a blade. This happens sometimes when somebody has an accident or they're careless with the blade. They run into a boat dock or something like that. And usually some of the material is lifted up. This one has material lifted up at the corner. And what I do in this case, I actually will remove the chip totally, so I can get down and have a new surface to do the repair on. So I take the excess material off, and I'll sand the area to be repaired. Make sure you sand it well enough so there's no splinters sticking up. And it gives you a good roughed up area to have proper adhesion with the adhesive. Once I've got the area sanded, I'll use a few different tools. One of the things I use for the adhesive is like a 6-minute epoxy. This can be found in most hardware stores. I've got sandpaper that I use. You can use 60 to 100 grit. I've got squeeze clamps that I use to squeeze the pieces of plastic. I've got 2 pieces of ethylene plastic which will be used, and that will sandwich the adhesive into place while it's curing. The ethylene plastic is good because it doesn't stick to the blade, and it will actually form fit the repair, so the blade will be back to its new shape once it's finished and it's been sanded. So the first thing I do is I'll take the epoxy, squeeze a little bit out onto a piece of cardboard. This type is the kind you mix up, so I'll take a mixing stick. I've got an old pencil here I'm using. Mix the epoxy up. Some epoxies are different. This one actually turns a different color when it's setting up. So now that I've got it mixed right, I'll dab the epoxy onto the blade in the affected area. And you want to make sure you use enough so it's going to reform the area that's missing, or if there's a hole, so you know you've got that proper blade shape back to new. Once you've got the epoxy on there, then you take the 2 pieces of ethylene plastic, put one on the back and one on the front, and you actually use your squeeze clamps to squeeze it right together. I'll use 3 or 4 here. This sort of remolds that area of the blade that was damaged or missing. And now we'll let it set. It'll set for 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll remove the clamps and be able to sand the area and then repaint the blade as necessary, and then the ore will be ready to use. So that's it for this repair. We'll wait, and once it's dry, we'll take the clamps off and sand it. Okay, this blade is one that I've repaired earlier. I've taken the squeeze clamps off and the ethylene plastic pieces, and as you can see, it sort of reforms with the adhesive where the material was missing. The next step you have to do is actually to sand the area. You can sand off the excess glue, and this sort of recontours or reshapes what the blade was. You can use a 60 grit or an 80 grit paper. I think the paper I'm using right now is 80. You want to sand the area so you're basically reforming what the shape of the blade was. And now that area is coated, so there won't be any more fibers peeling up. And that's it. We've got it so all the excess glue is gone. It's been sanded, and now it's ready to be repainted and reused.